Nestled among towering pines, the village of Whispering Pines was a picture of quaint serenity. Its inhabitants were known for their warm smiles and welcoming nature. Yet, a shadow lingered over the picturesque cottages and cobblestone streets. It was the shadow of Blackthorn Manor. Perched atop a windswept hill overlooking the village, the manor stood as a monument to secrets and sorrow. Its once bright facade had faded to a haunting grey, its windows like vacant eyes staring out at the world. Locals whispered tales of the manor's dark past, of a family met with a gruesome end, their souls forever entwined with the estate. The manor had stood empty for decades, a testament to the village's unspoken fear. No one dared to venture near its overgrown grounds, let alone step within its decaying walls. The stories were too chilling, the warnings from generations past too ingrained. Blackthorn Manor was a place to be avoided, its very name spoken in hushed tones. It was a crisp autumn evening when a group of friends, emboldened by youthful daring, decided to challenge the legend of Blackthorn Manor. There was Liam, the pragmatic leader, his skepticism a shield against the unknown. Emily, the adventurous one, thrived on the thrill of the forbidden. Daniel, the quiet observer, his curiosity piqued by the mysteries of the manor. And Sophia, the skeptic, her doubts masked by a thrill of nervous anticipation. They had heard the stories, dismissed them as folklore, meant to scare children. Their youthful bravado fueled their desire to debunk the myth, to prove that Blackthorn Manor held no power over them. Armed with flashlights and a sense of invincibility that only youth could provide, they stood before the rusted iron gates of the manor. As the last rays of sunlight faded, casting long, eerie shadows across the overgrown lawn, they made their pact. They would enter Blackthorn Manor and unveil its secrets. The air grew heavy as they stepped onto the grounds of Blackthorn Manor. The scent of decay hung thick in the air, a sickly, sweet perfume of neglect. The once grand entrance was concealed behind a tangle of thorny vines, a testament to years of abandonment. Liam, ever the pragmatist, was the first to push past the rusted gates, his flashlight cutting through the encroaching darkness. Inside the manor was a labyrinth of shadows and silence. Dust lay thick upon every surface, undisturbed for years. Cobwebs, spun by unseen spiders, draped the once elegant chandeliers and furniture. The air felt strangely still, as if the very walls were holding their breath. As they ventured deeper into the manor, a sense of unease settled upon them. The silence was broken only by the sound of their own footsteps echoing through the empty halls. A floorboard creaked above them, sending shivers down their spines. They reached the grand ballroom, its former glory now faded and forgotten. A thick layer of dust covered the once gleaming hardwood floor. The ornate chandeliers, now missing most of their crystals, hung precariously from the ceiling. And at the far end of the room, bathed in the pale moonlight filtering through a shattered window, stood a grand piano. It was an imposing instrument, its ebony finish scratched and dull, its ivory keys yellowed with age. Drawn to it as if by some unseen force, they gathered around the ancient instrument. A single sheet of music rested on the music stand, its edges brown and brittle. Sophia, her fingers trembling slightly, reached out and gently pressed a key. The note that rang out was not the melodious tone one would expect from such a grand instrument. It was a discordant clang, a sound of pain and sorrow that seemed to reverberate through the room long after the key was released. And then, from the depths of the piano, they heard it. A soft, mournful melody, played as if by unseen hands. Their blood ran cold as the mournful melody filled the air. Panic threatened to consume them, their bravado crumbling in the face of the unexplainable. They turned, desperate to flee the haunted sound. And that's when they saw it. In the dusty mirror that hung above the fireplace, a ghostly figure flickered into existence. It was a woman, her features obscured by shadow, her eyes burning with a cold, ethereal light. Sophia screamed, stumbling backward into Daniel's arms. The others froze, their gazes transfixed on the spectral image in the mirror. The ghostly figure seemed to reach out from the mirror, its slender fingers tipped with an unnatural glow. Then, as quickly as it had appeared, it vanished, leaving behind only the echo of their terror and the lingering sense of dread that permeated the air. Panic seized them. The fragile barrier of disbelief that had shielded them from the truth shattered, leaving them exposed to the raw terror of the supernatural. Instinct took over. They had to escape, to break free from the suffocating grip of Blackthorn Manor. Liam, his usual composure shaken, grabbed Emily's hand, pulling her toward the hallway. "This way!" he shouted, his voice echoing in the sudden silence. They ran, their hearts pounding in their chests, the memory of the ghostly figure seared into their minds. The hallway seemed to stretch before them, endless and menacing. The air was thick with the scent of decay and the oppressive weight of unseen eyes. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves against the windows sent shivers down their spines. Blackthorn Manor was no longer a place of curiosity, but a prison from which they desperately sought escape. Section 7. A desperate escape. They stumbled through the darkened hallways, their flashlight beams dancing frantically across the walls, casting grotesque shadows that seemed to writhe and twist. Each turn seemed to lead them deeper into the heart of the manor, further from the safety of the outside world. Daniel, his usual silence replaced by a whimper of fear, tripped over a loose floorboard, falling heavily. "Come on, Daniel, get up," Liam urged, hauling him to his feet. They reached the grand staircase, its once elegant banister now broken and splintered. The steps creaked ominously beneath their weight as they descended, each sound echoing like a death knell in the stillness. The air grew colder, the oppressive atmosphere pressing down on them like a physical weight. They could feel the manor fighting back, its unseen forces determined to keep them trapped within its decaying walls. Section 8. The Price of Curiosity. They finally burst out of the front doors, gasping for breath, their lungs burning. They tumbled onto the overgrown lawn, the crisp night air, a welcome relief from the stifling atmosphere of the manor. They lay there for a moment, catching their breath, their bodies trembling with exhaustion and terror. As they looked back at the imposing silhouette of Blackthorn Manor, silhouetted against the moonlit sky, they knew they had escaped with their lives, but not unscathed. They had entered the manor seeking thrills, their youthful arrogance blinding them to the potential consequences. They had scoffed at the stories, dismissing them as mere folklore. But they had learned a valuable and terrifying lesson that night. Blackthorn Manor was indeed haunted, its dark past woven into the very fabric of its being. Section 9. Blackthorn's Grip. The following days were a blur of restless nights and haunted memories. The laughter and light-hearted banter that had once characterized their group were replaced by a strange silence. They had shared an experience that had bound them together in a way they couldn't explain, a secret that shadowed their every thought. Liam, his usual pragmatism shaken, found himself questioning everything he thought he knew. Emily, once so eager for adventure, was plagued by nightmares, the ghostly figure from the mirror forever etched in her mind. Daniel, his quiet demeanor now bordering on withdrawn, couldn't shake the feeling of unseen eyes following his every move. And Sophia, her skepticism shattered, couldn't escape the icy grip of fear that clung to her like a shroud. They tried to move on, to pretend that their night at Blackthorn Manor had been nothing more than a bad dream. But the manor had a hold on them, its icy fingers reaching out from the darkness, reminding them of the terror they had witnessed. Section 10. Return to Silence. Blackthorn Manor stood on the hill, a silent sentinel overlooking the village. Its secrets remained for now hidden behind its decaying walls. The laughter of children no longer reached its overgrown grounds. The whispers of the wind carried only the echoes of its tragic past. The village of Whispering Pines had retreated into itself, its inhabitants once again casting wary glances at the manor on the hill. And what of the friends who dared to challenge its legend? They carried the experience with them, a chilling reminder of the night they had stared into the abyss and glimpsed the true face of fear. Blackthorn Manor had tested their courage, their friendship, their very sanity. It had shown them that some doors are best left unopened, some secrets better left buried. The haunting of Blackthorn Manor was over for now. But the silence held a promise, a chilling certainty that the manor would claim other victims, other souls brave enough or foolish enough to cross its threshold.